Hello and welcome back to Guitar Club. Today is going to be a slightly different topic. I'm going to be talking about my journey or odyssey with playing guitar and discovering I have MS. So, going back about 20 years ago, I discovered that my toes and fingers were starting to get pins and needles. I really didn't know what was going on, so I tried to find out. I think I probably went to the doctors and they didn't know. I thought maybe it was something called Guillain-Barré syndrome. It turned out not to be. So over a period of about a month or two, I lost the feeling in my fingers. I really couldn't use them at all. It's got worse and worse for a while. I'd been playing guitar since I was about 12 or 13, and I hadn't really played all that much up until in the preceding years. So in the 90s, I didn't really play much guitar. I was messing around with other music stuff, sampling, just generally playing at home. But I played guitar occasionally, but not intensely. And when I started to get this numbness in my fingers, I was determined not to let that stop me playing guitar because I'd always loved playing. So I picked up a guitar again and just started practicing every day and messing around with it. And I found this seemed to help. At the time I didn't know what the problem was, so I just kept at it, kept playing, only at home, just noodling around, picking up my guitar. In those days I had an old Honor Strat copy, made in Japan one. It's quite nice but not great. I don't have that one anymore. And then I went on from there. So I was working from home at the time, and I basically couldn't work for a while, so I just sat and spent my time trying to play the guitar. It was so bad that I couldn't form chords at all. So, something in me made me think, well, I'm not going to give up to this. I want to be able to play the guitar, so I'm going to keep trying. So I kept at it, and gradually the feeling came back into my fingers. It never came back fully, so they're still a little bit, not so much numb, but clumsy compared to how they were before, but much better than they were back then, about 20 years ago. So I still didn't really know what the problem had been, but it got better. This period of illness followed a house move, which involved lots and lots of work. We'd moved into an almost derelict house with our family, so it was a very stressful time. We'd moved 250 miles from England to South Wales and started working on renovating this house, and I think that's probably what triggered this. I think I had flu as well, and after that, that's when this numbness came into my fingers, and my toes were tingly and so on. So it's when my extremities were losing their feeling. So I decided that I was going to just persevere and try and play the guitar, basically. So I did. I carried on, played and played, and it gradually, as I say, it gradually went back to about 80 or 90% good sensation in my fingers, so I was able to play again, and I carried on with that so that brought me back into music, basically. I started playing, as I say, in my teens. I'd learnt the piano as a youngster, starting when I was 5 or 6, I think. My mother bought me piano lessons, which I didn't really enjoy that much. It was too formal. I much preferred to teach myself the guitar later on. I had a few lessons then as well, but largely just self-taught by playing and enjoying myself. So back to the recovery period then of getting better and starting to play. So I then just carried on playing. I think I got a better guitar. I'm trying to think what that was. I think it was a Hofner Colorama, this one. So this was the guitar I got to replace my old Honor Strat. So this was my first half-decent guitar, really. It's not a bad one, it's nothing special, but nice little guitar, P90 pickups, plays quite well. Just hang that back up. So I carried on playing at home. I changed jobs then, started working for the NHS in the computer department, IT department. I then went through a period where I was doing a lot of overtime, and it was a new job, quite stressful. And after a month or two, I think this was about 8 or 9 years after I'd had the first problem with my fingers going numb. So about 8 or 9 years later, started a new job, was doing a load of overtime, travelling quite a long way for it, and one day, I think on the way into work, I noticed my eyesight was doing something strange, and I had the centre of my vision had what looked like a kaleidoscope in it, so it was a ziggy-zaggy pattern, and I noticed that was quite uncomfortable, and that gradually got worse and worse until I could really not see anything in the centre of my field of vision. I kept going back to the doctors to find out what it was. They referred me to the hospital. The hospital sent me to the ophthalmology department and did various tests. Unfortunately, the person there wasn't particularly helpful, couldn't really identify what the problem was, and I said to them, what am I going to do? I can't work. And she said at the time, I'm sorry, that's between you and your employer, which wasn't terribly helpful. So I went back to the GP, I think, and they sent me for some further tests. And eventually they did then think, oh, actually, we better go to the neurology department. So I went for an MRI scan, and the doctor then called me back in and said, okay, we've got the results of your MRI. You've got MS, multiple sclerosis. Which was quite a shock. I was really scared at the time because I didn't know what that really meant. There are obviously, for those that don't know, there are various types of MS. Luckily for me, the version that I had was relapsing remitting, which means that you go through periods where you relapse and it gets worse, and then it gets better again for a while. And I've been very lucky. So over the period of nearly 20 years, I had 2 major attacks, relapses, one which was the numbness in my hands and feet, and then this really scary one which was about 8 or 9 years later, where I basically couldn't see. It was, like looking at a kaleidoscope, the centre of my vision was really disturbed, so I couldn't see to use a keyboard, or do anything very useful, to be honest. You couldn't even watch the telly because that was disturbed as well. So, but I did sit down and carried on sitting down and playing the guitar some more. So again, this period, fortunately for me, I went into a period of remittance after it took about 3 months that time, I think. And I went back to work, carried on playing the guitar. By this point, I was getting a bit better with playing the guitar, so we had a band at work which we did a Christmas gig, and I played guitar in that, so I managed to get a few gigs that way. And then over a period of time, I carried on practicing, playing a lot, and eventually answered an advert online for a guitar player for a band. They had how did they have? They had it was just a bass player and a keyboard player to start off with that wanted to form a band, and we found a singer. So I was the guitarist. We had a singer, bass player, and keyboard player, and I found that really enjoyable. And so I learnt a lot more then. We got up to a set of 30 or so songs, and did a few gigs. I really enjoyed it. I never really enjoyed the gigging side of it as much as the practicing. We used to practice every week, The gigging, to be honest, was quite a lot of hassle because you have to unpack and travel and so on. It was more the fact that I was playing with other musicians that I really enjoyed, and that then continued until I guess up until COVID. So we're talking about a period of, well, the last attack was back around 2012, I think, maybe 2010. So then another 10 years of doing the occasional gig. We did quite a few years of doing the Christmas gigs at work, and the MS was in remittance up until COVID, definitely, and after. But things got quite stressful again, and I wasn't very well. And then I started now to suffer more from various episodes of extreme tiredness from the MS. I'm very lucky I can still get about and walk. My balance isn't as good as it used to be. And I now have periods where I basically sleep for days on end to try and catch up. It seems these days that most things have a price to pay in terms of having to catch up for sleep. So anything that I do seems to sap the energy quicker than it would do normally. But I'm still functioning well. I still play the guitar. I'm making these videos. And I just thought it would be an interesting one to encourage those people that have MS, particularly the relapsing remitting type, that it can last quite a long time before you start to really have life-changing differences with it. I'm not there yet, I don't think. I can still, as I say, still get about. Sometimes concentration is a problem. I find that tires me out as well, so work things can be difficult, but generally okay. But through all of this, I look back to that point, back nearly 20 years ago, where I decided I wanted to pick up the guitar again, and I'm sure that's helped because I could concentrate my effort on playing the guitar and enjoying that, and it gave me an incentive to get my hands working again, to concentrate on something, playing the guitar, as well, as a side thing from work. I've since started collecting guitars, as you can probably see behind me. I've got quite a few now. I've started making guitars. That was just pre-COVID. I've started making some. I'll show you one of those. So this is the last of the builds that I did. The body is based very loosely on the B&G guitars. I like the shape of those. It's like a little parlour electric guitar. All of this body are constructed. This one's made from, I think, 2 pieces of mahogany and 2 pieces of maple on the top, flamed maple. Got a rather nice flame to it. I don't know if you can see that. I've done all the electrics myself. The only part I didn't make myself was the neck. Bought those in from a Chinese company called Yinfenti, I think they are. So can't claim to be a luthier, but maybe a semi-luthier, because I've built the body and assembled the guitars, glued in neck. So that's fun. But all of these things have given me the incentive to carry on through the MS experience, and I'm still doing okay. Over 20 years later now, I'm having to go for checkups more often now. Go to the neurology department. I had an MRI scan recently, but I'm feeling pretty well at the moment, so I'm hoping that I will continue to be able to carry on doing the things I love doing, playing the guitar, walking the dogs, all that good stuff. So that's my brief-ish explanation of how I've been with MS now for over 20 years, and how guitar playing and building guitars has helped me. Thank you.